Hello, Nansen Explorer. Many people ask us if we can show them specific things that people have done um, with Nansen. So how they've made Nansen work for them in a specific scenario. So in this video, I was thinking we could have a look at Hegic, which is a decentralized options trading platform. And I wanted to show you how you can use many different dashboards in Nansen to better understand their liquidity mining program. And so hopefully you'll come away from this video understanding a bit better how to use the dashboards for a specific purpose. Let's just dive right in. All right. So the first thing that I like to do, because it gives you this kind of macro perspective, is to look at token God mode. And so without going into too much details about Hegic itself, if you're watching this video, I will assume that you know a bit about Hegic. It's an options trading platform on the blockchain. It's an interesting project, and they have a liquidity mining which effectively incentivizes um, liquidity provisioning on their platform. So it makes it, let's say, more profitable to provide liquidity on their platform than if they had not had this program. So people on board as liquidity providers for Hegic. And when you provide, for example, Ether to this liquidity pool, you get this token called rHEGIC. And so I've plugged in rHEGIC into token God mode here. I'd like to use the URL parameters because it's a bit easier to, copy the links and just change them. If you want to look at write WBTC, you can do that and hit enter and it's going to show that. So that's just a little shortcut. That's how I like to use Nansen with these URL parameters. So we're going to skip the first section, tokens on exchanges, because it's not really a token that gets traded on exchanges much. And instead look at notable wallets and transactions. And so you can see balance changes, and you can also see top transactions. And let's just start here, because already there's something interesting going on here. So this shows the largest transactions of rHEGIC. And you can see there's a similar thing going on here among all the top transactions. So there are rHEGIC tokens going from the staking rewards contract to different addresses. And this means that these people have been staking their rHEGIC tokens in the staking rewards incentives contract, but they no longer are. So what's going on there? Why are they not staking anymore? Maybe that's something we can try to figure out in this little video. So you see some of these people, in fact, three of these have been indicated as smart money. So perhaps these smart money wallets know something that we don't, and it's worth digging into a bit further. So that's, one observation, that it seems like some whales are unstaking their rHEGIC tokens. And you can also see some of these are actually still sitting with their rHEGIC tokens in their wallets, making them effectively among the of these tokens. The big one being, of course, the staking rewards contract itself. All right, so where do we go from here? Maybe one thing we can do is to simply look at who is still depositing the rHEGIC into the staking rewards contract. And to do that, you just scroll to the right over here, and we have a bunch of links: profiler, depositors, recipients, and Etherscan. So recipients, well, actually, let's look at depositors for this one. This is going to show, out of this 48 million rHEGIC tokens, what's the breakdown? Who deposited those tokens into this address? So let's click that, and it's going to show a new dashboard called Top Depositors with the correct address and token already filled out. So it's the ETH staking rewards contract, it's the rHEGIC token that we're looking at, and it holds 48 million. So these numbers match what we saw in the table, and now it's spinning up the top depositors. So these are effectively active stakers. Or put another way, these are people who provide Ether as liquidity to Hegic, and then they take the right Ether tokens up in the staking rewards contract. And they do that in order to get rHEGIC tokens. And you can see the distribution here. You can see also, the development fund is actually the second largest staker right now. And there is one that is bigger here, which has 5.1 million tokens staked. In fact, I'm tempted to just dive into this one, but let's just scroll down and see if there's any other interesting addresses. There are a couple of ENS names, a smart liquidity provider here. It's about 700, by the way, in total. The sixth Wi-Fi farmer, so an early Wi-Fi farmer is in here. Flash Boy, meaning that they do ARB trades and sometimes flash loans, perhaps. So, a bit of variety on the addresses that have deposited right ETH tokens into this contract. But we can level deeper. We can look at this elite DEX trader, the top depositor of right ETH tokens. So basically the main LP liquidity provider for Hegic. Let's click at their address, and we're going to drill down even deeper into this address, and we're going to see, for example, when they started LPing, and if they've made multiple transactions, or if it's just one deposit into this reward contract. First of all, it's an elite DEX trader. That means that they're in the top 1% on volume traded and number of trades across DEXs. So this is someone that basically trades very, very actively on DEXs. If we scroll down, we see that, actually I want to sort this by time. So I want to see this just sorted from the latest transactions to the oldest ones. And you can see that every outgoing transaction has gone into the staking rewards contract. You see that here. So they don't really send these right ETH tokens anywhere else. And there's only one instance where they actually withdrew tokens from the contract, but they actually deposited them back in again 3 minutes later, which you can see over here. So that's kind of interesting. But what I actually want to know is, what do they do with their rHEGIC tokens? So the farmed tokens. And the cool thing is, grab this, gotta copy it, and then replace the token symbol here at the end. So I'm going to look at rHEGIC. I want to look at what this address has been doing with rHEGIC tokens now. So we were looking at right Ether, which is what we use to acquire or farm the tokens, the rHEGIC tokens. But what about the rHEGIC tokens themselves that they have been farming? So it's going to load up a similar view, but now we're looking at rHEGIC. And so what do we see here on balances? So this is a claim, meaning that they claim tokens from this rewards contract, and then the balance has been going down, which perhaps is them selling these tokens. And then there's another claim a couple of days ago, and then the balance has been going down since then. So what's actually happening here? It's nice to see the balance, but let's break it down even further. Let's look at the individual transactions. By default, these tables are sorted by size because that gives a quick idea of the most important transactions. And in fact, the largest ones have all been staking rewards transactions. So they've basically gotten rHEGIC tokens from the ETH staking rewards. And then you see all the have gone to the Uniswap rHEGIC pool. So let me sort by time instead. Again, going to look at the latest ones on top. So this was the latest claim that they made, which was December 13. So it's this big spike up here. and they have been selling in batches of 50,000, 60,000, 100,000, 80,000 rHEGIC tokens to Uniswap. Now, it could be that this was actually them providing liquidity. So let's just double transaction on Etherscan, and you can see that it's a swap. We're going to include that into the table soon, but for now, we just check it on Etherscan. It's a swap. It's not them providing liquidity. It's an actual selling of these tokens. So that's interesting. The top farmer, basically, here, top farmer, the top active farmer at the moment is basically farming in these batches and then selling them over time. That's maybe not great for the rHEGIC token, but that's what's happening. So what if there are other farmers doing the same? You know, that's what I want to know next. So maybe let's take a step back and zoom back up again to the macro view, and we go back to token god mode. But now let's look at rHEGIC itself. Oh, sorry, let me spell that correctly. rHEGIC, there we go. So now I'm going to run token god for rHEGIC, and I want to understand better what is going on with the rHEGIC token. And maybe there are other drill downs we can do here as well. And so now the tokens on exchanges is actually a bit relevant because rHEGIC is actually traded on exchanges. And in fact, the main thing you can see here is that there's been a big influx of rHEGIC tokens to Uniswap. So this matches what we saw of this whale selling their rHEGIC tokens. You know, they are actually one of the contributors of these tokens going into Uniswap. So, you know, that means rHEGIC tokens available on exchanges pretty much every day. You can also see that the balance change is mostly positive on most days. There's been some changes here that are negative, like the 12th, which is this little dip here. But mostly there's been inflow of tokens to Uniswap. All right, let's go down a bit. Okay, what about the top transactions? Here too, you see big claims going on. So there were some massive. Our friend, the Elite Dex Trader, I'm guessing that's the same one, 3736. Indeed, this is that transaction. So you can sort of see the same transaction there across different ones. Well, that's you know coming out of the ETH staking rewards. We also see some people claiming rHEGIC tokens from the Wrap Bitcoin staking rewards. So that's kind of interesting. And this one might be a purchase actually. Let's have a look at this one. No, okay, it's not a purchase. It's actually them removing liquidity. That makes sense. So they've had some rHEGIC tokens in Uniswap, and then they basically pulled those out of Uniswap. Yeah, so this is a little stuff to dig into here. By the way, you know, one thing you can look at is the ETH staking rewards contract again, but now we're looking at rHEGIC, right? So why don't we look at who's been receiving rHEGIC tokens from the staking rewards? So this is almost the same as what we looked at before. Here we who's been depositing rETH into the staking rewards contract. Basically shows us who is staking right now. Right, this is the net amount of tokens that each of these addresses have sitting in the staking contract at this point in time. But what we also wanted to just, you know, past stakers that have claimed tokens and now have, you know, headed out. They're no longer staking. Well, then we could look at rHEGIC tokens being received from the staking contract, right? So you can go over here, and instead of clicking depositors, we can now click recipients. So that's to indicate who has been receiving rHEGIC tokens from this address. All right, so this pops up. we've got the same contract here. We've got token symbol rHEGIC, and we can see how much there's about almost 17 million rHEGIC tokens in that contract. And here we go. So these are the top recipients of rHEGIC tokens. Again, we see a couple of smart money addresses here. That's what these emojis with glasses indicate. Here's another smart LP, some heavy DEX traders, some ENS names, maker auction winner. That's kind of interesting. But very notably, you have this elite DEX trader on top with 6.2 million rHEGIC tokens received, which is more than 3 times as much as the next one on the list. So I have a feeling this is the same address we were looking at before, but we can confirm it. So let's just click through. I mean, you could obviously just look at the name, right? Or sorry, the address. That's one way to do it, either here on Etherscan or just, reading down here at the left. But if we go in, that chart looks familiar, right? So it's the same as this one. Okay, so it's the same guy. So or girl. It's the same address receiving tons of rHEGIC tokens. So this is the recipient of rHEGIC tokens. And we already know that this address has been selling at least some of their tokens, not all of them. But what about the other ones? We can look at a couple of these. So let's look at the auction winner. What are they doing with their farmed rHEGIC tokens? This, by the way, is a maker auction winner. It's also a maker voter. It's a pool creator, so they've created Uniswap pools as a heavy DEX trader, CDP creator, and so on. Okay, this looks sort of similar. Big claims and then gradual selling, but let's just confirm it by going down. So they got all their tokens from Hegic, and most of the tokens went to Uniswap, and some went to an unknown destination. Yeah, we see some of these. Okay, so Uniswap is there. Let me confirm that this is a swap and not a liquidity addition. It's a swap. Okay, so they sold tokens. These large 200,000 been selling. This is quite recent, by the way, December 16th. So let's flip it around and look at time. This is December 17th today, so this was yesterday. Looks like they were selling a lot, actually. All of these and are Uniswap. There's this Uniswap V2 Zap in general. I think that's Zapper, but we can have a look. So we go in here and yeah, so there's a swap and an add. So pretty sure that means basically they've swapped half of their tokens for Ether, and then they provide liquidity, half in Ether and rHEGIC tokens to Uniswap. So it shows up as unknown, but it's just because it goes through this intermediary contract. Ultimately, it also went to Uniswap. So a mix of selling and liquidity provisioning, but mostly selling, it seems like. So this one's also selling. What if we look at the smart LP? Smart money is always good to look at. I'm going to spin up the same view. This is a smart LP, also a token millionaire, heavy DEX trader. Okay, this one looks a bit different. This has incremental jumps, right? Which maybe means they've been claiming every day, or it means they've been buying, but we'll find out. Well, they got most of all of their tokens from Hegic, so that means they've been claiming. They've not been buying them from Uniswap. So yeah, so this is more interleave. Let me sort by time again. Actually, this time let's sort the other way around. So the very first Hegic they got was from staking rewards, but in smaller batches. So it seems like this address has been claiming tokens, every few hours, and then it's been selling a bit, but it was keeping them for a while, and then lately there's been much more selling. So, well, November, December, and then big trades here. So yeah, more big whales selling our Hegic tokens. And so, if I'm looking at this, and I don't want to make any price predictions here, but I mean, this doesn't look great, right? You have some of the largest whales dumping pretty large amounts of tokens on the market. And just to confirm, these are actually swaps, 200,000 rHEGIC being swapped. Not great for the price action. And so, why are they doing? Why are they selling? Why, and also why are some of these exiting the pool? It could be reasons, but I think one um, macro factor impacting this might be that we've seen incredibly bullish on Bitcoin and Ether, which means that some of the option traders might be basically they might be exercising their options. And so that means you don't want to be a liquidity provider in that pool because effectively it's your money getting taken out as the options traders are profitable. So that could be one reason. It could also be other option trading platforms coming into the market. But looking at this, I mean, I think it gives a pretty good perspective on what's actually happening here beyond just looking at the price action of either rHEGIC or Hegic itself. So let's actually look at the price against Ether. So it's been going down quite a bit. It's not been dumping, but it's basically been falling since November 25th. But it's hard to say exactly why this is happening just from looking at the price. So hopefully, in this video, you've seen how you can go really deep in understanding like what are the actual drivers of certain movements, right? We've looked at rHEGIC in token god mode, where you can drill down and look at how it's been distributed, who are the farmers of it, what are the farmers actually doing with these tokens. And we also looked at the same for rHEGIC, which is basically what you use to farm rHEGIC. And you can access all these dashboards from within Nansen. Some of them you can actually plug in your own contract addresses and so on if you want to, or you should make good use of these links that are in the tables, because that's a great way to explore the top contracts that matter, the holders of certain tokens, and so on and so forth. So this was maybe complicated to follow, but hopefully you got some ideas on how you can use Nansen to explore basically any on-chain project, exploring the token movements and the actions of liquidity providers and farmers in basically any ecosystem. So hope that was useful. See you next time.